Hi, this is Cronus, and today we'll start our journey going back through time to the days of the Roman emperors and to the very foundation of the Roman Empire itself. Let us discover the first 100 years since the last days of the Roman Republic to the rise of the Roman Empire. In this series, we will witness the life of the leaders who shaped the very foundation of the Roman Empire. We will start with the life of Julius Caesar to the first 5 emperors of the Roman Empire. These 5 emperors all connected back to Julius Caesar through adoption. 4 of them have blood connection to Claudius, hence the name Julio Claudian.
Ein Volk, ein Reich, ein Führer.
It was July 12, 100 BCE when Gaius Julius Caesar was born. There was a myth that Julius Caesar was born by caesarean section and thus that the name of this procedure was named after him. In 60 BCE, Julius Caesar, Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus, also known as Pompey the Great, and Marcus Licinius Crassus formed an unofficial power-sharing arrangement, often referred to as the First Triumvirate. It was formed among the 3 men due to their mutual need to overcome opposition in the Senate against their proposals in the previous years. Initially secret, it emerged publicly during Caesar's first consulship in 59 BC to push through legislation for the 3 allies. Caesar secured passage of an agrarian law which helped resettle Pompey's veterans, a law ratifying Pompey's settlements after the Third Mithridatic War, and legislation on provincial administration and tax collection. Caesar also was placed in a long-term governorship in Gaul. The early success of the alliance, however, triggered substantial political backlash. Political alliances at Rome reorganized to counterbalance the 3 men in the coming years. In 58 BCE, the Roman Republic under the command of Julius Caesar started the Gallic War. Beginning from the month of June, Battle of the Arer and Battle of Bibracte against the Helvetii, Battle of Vosges against Swabia on September 14, Battle of Ixona against the Belgi, and Battle of Sambre with the Belgi, but now facing also against the Nervii during the winter between 58 to 57 BCE. There was also a naval battle of Morbihan at the Quiberon Bay against the Veneti in the summer of 56 BCE, and the invasions of Britain of 55 BCE and 54 BCE against the Celts in the Isle of England. Eburon's tribe, under its leader, Ambrionix, rebelled against the Roman Republic in winter between 54 to 53 BCE. Julius Caesar, after a series of victories at Velanodunum, Genabum, and Noviodunum Biturigum, had arrived at Avaricum in the winter of 52 BC, intent on denying its grain and steel to the rebellious Gauls. The Battle of Gergovia took place in 52 BC in Gaul at Gergovia, the chief oppidum, a fortified town, of the Arverni. The battle was fought between a Roman Republican army, led by proconsul Julius Caesar, and Gallic forces led by Vercingetorix, who was also the Arverni chieftain. The Romans attempted to besiege Gergovia, but miscommunication ruined the Roman plan. The Gallic cavalry counterattacked the confused Romans and sent them to flight, winning the battle. The Battle of Alesia or Siege of Alesia on September 52 BC was the climactic military engagement of the Gallic Wars. Fought around the Gallic oppidum, fortified settlement, of Alesia in modern France, a major center of the Mandubii tribe. It was fought by the Roman army of Julius Caesar against a confederation of Gallic tribes united under the leadership of Vercingetorix of the Arverni. It was the last major engagement between Gauls and Romans, and is considered one of Caesar's greatest military achievements. The Battle of Alesia marked the end of Gallic independence in the modern-day territory of France and Belgium. The Siege of Uxellodunum was one of the last battles of the Gallic Wars. It took place in 51 BC at Uxellodunum. It was the last major military confrontation of the Gallic Wars and marked the pacification of Gaul under Roman rule. I will create a separate video to discuss the whole Gallic War in detail. In 53 BCE, Crassus died while trying to conquer Parthia. This inadvertently led to a full-on civil war between Caesar and Pompey, a buildup of tensions starting in late 50 BC, with both Caesar and Pompey refusing to back down, led to the outbreak of civil war. Pompey and his allies induced the Senate to demand Caesar give up his provinces and armies in the opening days of 49 BC. Caesar refused and instead marched on Rome. Between January 10 and 11 of 49 BCE, Julius Caesar openly defied the Senate's authority by crossing the Rubicon and marching towards Rome at the head of an army. During the late Roman Republic, the river Rubicon marked the boundary between the Roman province of Cisalpine Gaul to the northeast and Italy proper, controlled directly by Rome and its allies, to the south. On the northwestern side, the border was marked by the river Arno, a much wider and more important waterway, which flows westward from the Apennine Mountains. Its source is not far from the Rubicon source, into the Tyrrhenian Sea. Governors of Roman provinces were appointed pro-magistrates with imperium, roughly, right to command, in one or more provinces. The governors then served as generals of the Roman army within the territory they ruled. Roman law specified that only the elected magistrates, consuls and praetors, could hold imperium within Italy. Any magistrate who entered Italy at the head of his troops forfeited his imperium and was therefore no longer legally allowed to command troops. Julius Caesar led a single legion, Legio XIII, south over the Rubicon from Cisalpine Gaul to Italy to make his way to Rome. In doing so, he deliberately broke the law on imperium and made armed conflict inevitable. Roman historian Suetonius depicts Caesar as undecided as he approached the river and attributes the crossing to a supernatural apparition. It was reported that Caesar dined with Sallust, Hirtius, Oppius, Lucius Bulbus and Sulpicius Rufus on the night after his famous crossing into Italy on January 10. A dramatic moment in literary narratives, the importance of the anecdote is undermined somewhat by Caesar's forces having already crossed into Italy the previous day. By the time Caesar himself entered Italy, the war had already begun. With his legate, Quintus Hortensius, occupying the Italian town of Ariminum, according to Suetonius, Caesar uttered the famous phrase Alia iacta est, or, the die has been cast. The phrase, crossing the Rubicon, has survived to refer to any individual or group committing itself to a risky or revolutionary course of action, similar to the modern phrase, passing the point of no return. Caesar's decision for swift action forced Pompey, the consuls, and a large part of the Roman Senate to flee Rome. The war was fought in Italy, Illyria, Greece, Egypt, Africa, and Hispania. The decisive events occurred in Greece in 48 BCE. Pompey defeated Caesar at the Battle of Dyrrhachium, but the subsequent larger Battle of Pharsalus was won by Caesar and Pompey's army disintegrated. Many prominent supporters of Pompey, termed Pompeians, surrendered after the battle, such as Marcus Junius Brutus and Cicero. Others fought on, including Cato the Younger and Metellus Scipio. Caesar led a military expedition to Asia Minor before attacking North Africa, where he defeated Metellus Scipio in 46 BCE at the Battle of Thapsus. Cato and Metellus Scipio killed themselves shortly thereafter. The following year, Caesar defeated the last of the Pompeians, at the Battle of Munda in Spain, who were led by his former lieutenant Labienus. Pompey escaped from the battlefield and made his way to Mytilene, where he was reunited with his wife Cornelia. Most of his eastern allies were present at Pharsalus, and had either been killed or captured. The main absentee was 14-year-old Ptolemy XIII, ruler of the wealthy and strategically important kingdom of Egypt, making it an obvious destination. Cato announced his intention to continue the war from Africa, although most of his senatorial colleagues, including Cicero and Marcus Junius Brutus, made their peace with Caesar, and returned to Rome. Pompey sailed from Cyprus with a small fleet, and on September 28, 48 BCE arrived at Pelusium in Egypt, where Ptolemy was engaged in a bitter civil war with his co-ruler and elder sister, Cleopatra VII. When he went ashore to greet an official delegation, Pompey was killed by Lucius Septimius, a Roman officer and former colleague serving in the Egyptian army. His body was cremated by two servants, while the head was kept as evidence. March 15, 44 BCE, Julius Caesar was given the title Dictator for life, which made a lot of people nervous because that sounded a lot like having a king. A group of senators got together and conspired to assassinate Caesar. Which they did, by stabbing him to death during a Senate meeting. This is also known as the Ides of March. The two leaders of the conspiracy were Brutus and Cassius. Brutus was the son of Caesar's longtime lover Servilia and was her son-in-law. Officially, Caesar had only one biological child, Julia. Before the Civil War, she had been forced to marry the much older Pompey in order to cement the political alliance. However, Julia died in childbirth and therefore, Caesar ended up adopting his sister's grandson, the future Augustus, as his son and heir. At the time, Augustus was known as Octavian,